So today we're going to talk a bit about parabolas. Now we have been talking about parabolas for a long time. So it either opens up, it might open down, but today we're going to open to the side, maybe to the other side, and we're going to talk about some extra vocabulary that goes along with parabolas that we have never thought of before or talked about before. So we're going to start right here. In a parabola, every point on the graph is equidistant to the focus and the directrix. Now, those are not things that we have ever talked about before. But if you think about a satellite, or think about Star Wars, where they had those little guns that went pew, 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 like the big laser ones on the Star Destroyers, that had like a parabola around it, and then the focus was where the gun would shoot from, and the directrix is a line on the other side. So right here we've got the focus is going to be this point right in here. And then here is going to be the directrix. So any point that we find, like right here, here's a point that is equidistant from the focus and the directrix. Or this point right here, they're all equidistant from the focus and the directrix. Now this right here is the focal axis. That's like what your parabola is folding around. And so fun things. Now when we write this, the equations today, we're going to write them slightly different than we have always written. So this one, we know that that's an x squared. However, we don't know like how big it gets, and we're going to put it around the focus. So let's see. We've got x squared, because we know it opens up, is going to be equal to 4 times p times y. Okay, in this case, p is bigger than 0 because it's opening up. So really what that means, we're always going to have this 4 here, because algebraically that's what happens in the graph. It's always going to be 4 times something, this p value. And the p is how far is the focus from the vertex. So for this one, because it's opening up, the p is going to be an up and down movement. And so then wherever the focus is at, the directrix is going to be exactly opposite. So the p is where your focus is, and then the directrix will always be the opposite of that. Now it's not always going to be a negative number, it's just always going to be the opposite of what the p is. So since this one opens up, it's going to be an x squared equals 4py. Now this one over here opens down. So that's also going to be an x squared. But this time, it's still going to be 4py, but now because it's going down, my p is negative. So up here, my equation up here is going to be y equals the opposite of p. So those negative signs don't necessarily mean negative. In this case, it means the opposite of. All right, now what happens on these? See that one? It's opening to the side. Okay, so if it opens to the side, it is no longer an x squared. Now what part is squared? The y is what is squared, and then we have 4px. And p is greater than 0. So in this case, my focus still has that p value, but it's in the x spot. So now my directrix is on the other side, and it's an up and down line, so therefore it's x equals the opposite of whatever p was. Okay, this one is opening that way, so therefore we know that in the equation, let's see, we'll go up a little higher. In the equation, it's going to be a y squared because it's opening to the side. Still 4px, but this time we know that the p is negative because it's opening to the left. So I think that was backwards on your picture. It's opening that way. Okay, so let's go up here. So p is 0. Well, in this case, the p is negative. This one is just the opposite of that. So p is just however far it's going to the right, to the left, or to up and down. and then the directrix is always just the opposite of that number. So that's just a quick little intro to parabolas written a different way. Okay, so let's just quick go through and make a table, because sometimes that helps us just to put things into our brain. So if the equation is x squared plus 4py, it opens up and down or side to side? Yeah, it's going to open either up and down, either up or down, kind of depending on what the value of p is, if it's positive or negative. Okay, the focus, therefore, since it's opening up and down, it's going to be right here in the middle. And so the focus is 0p, and then the directrix is just the opposite. The axis of symmetry in this case, because it's not shifting side to side, axis of symmetry is right down the middle, up and down, so that's going to be the y-axis. The focal length. That means how far is the vertex from the focus, p, and therefore the focal width is always going to be that 4p, whatever's in front of your, in this case, the y, whatever is in front of there. That's how, from the focus to the side and to the other side, that's how big that's going to be. All right, what if we had y squared? I always recommend like making it with your body, just to make sure that your body knows what to do, because then your brain will know. So this one, since it's y squared, opens side to side. The focus, you still use the letter p, but that comes in the x coordinate. So therefore the directrix, since it's opening side to side, your directrix is now going to be an up and down line. So that's going to be x equals the opposite of whatever your p was. Axis of symmetry is going to be the x-axis. Focal length, still p. Focal width, still the 4p value. So in the next video, we'll go through and we'll figure out how do we put those all together.